And welcome in, everybody. It was the week before free agency, and what a week it was. We had amazing moves happen. The whole NFL seems to have been turned on its head. We have now a bunch of quarterbackless teams that we didn't think were going to be that way, and helping us describe everything to the fans. We're bringing in Stephen Brownholtz today. How's it going, Stephen?
Great. I'm doing awesome. Excited to hop on the pod with you guys.
Yeah, man. And as always, Justin Andrews here. And Stephen, we have a tradition here where we always give a cheers before. And obviously, cheers to you guys.
Cheers, boys.
But guys,
full disclaimer, I'm nursing a Sprite here because I got an upset stomach. So
it's all good. You need the carbonation, get your tummy all better, man. Take the Pepto-Bismol too. Hey, if you take a shot of Pepto-Bismol, I'll pull out the tequila. We'll do it together, man. I promise. But anyways, guys, all fun and games until you get traded. And Russell Wilson made big news. And the reason I want to start off with this is because, Steven, I'm a diehard 49er fan. I don't like seeing Russell Wilson in my division. He owns my team. I still got to see him one more time next year, but I'm okay with seeing him once every 4 years. And another thing that I really loved about Russell Wilson getting traded literally happened, not even a full hour after Aaron Rodgers signs this $50 million a year deal, kind of outshining him, which I'm done hearing about Aaron Rodgers. I don't know about you guys. I am super done hearing about Aaron Rodgers. And I just love that he got his moment taken away from him. But guys, overall, this was a freaking big week, a big last couple of days for the NFL. Just kind of let's go down each one of them. You know, we can start with Aaron Rodgers because to me that's, we already kind of saw that happening. It's the least relevant at this point. It's been going on for 3-4 weeks, maybe his whole entire career at this point. How surprised were you that the Packers were willing to give him $50 million to stay with the team? Justin, I'm going to start with you because we've been talking about this on the show for a while, like how wild these numbers were going to get. Like, how surprised were you they gave him $50 million?
I'm not too surprised. I mean, really, when you look at the contract, probably I think what's going to happen is it looks higher than it is. They're going to spread that cap. They give him $157 million guaranteed. They're going to spread that cap hit over 5 years. They're going to offload. They freed up probably $40 million, and they tagged Devontae. So, I was texting with some buddies, and they're like, "Oh man, they still can't afford Devontae after that." It's like, dude, Rodgers would not re-sign in Green Bay if he was not getting Devontae Adams back. Like, that's like non-negotiable to him, probably.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was
short. Yeah.
That's got to be in the contract, right? Devontae Adams has to stay with the Packers. Steven, how did you feel about that news? Looking back on it, you got a 38 going on 39-year-old quarterback. Like, do you really want to invest $200 million in him? I mean, he is Aaron Rodgers, but at the same time, you're not changing this team very much. Devontae's coming back, but what else is really coming back? Their defense kind of falling apart. Kind of just give me what you thought about this deal.
Like you said, it is Aaron Rodgers. So if you have Aaron Rodgers on your team, I feel like you do have a shot to win a title every year. And bringing back Adams, like you guys said, that was basically a given once Rodgers signed. And I feel like Rodgers, I don't know everything about the contract, but I'm sure he worked something in there where it's like they can free up money to get guys now. Because I think that's all Rodgers wants to do right now is just win and silence all his haters and stuff. So I feel like it was a great move for the Packers, and I was kind of expecting it, but I think it was a great move, and I expect them to be right back in the hunt for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and, here's another thing, kind of rolling into our next news. The NFC just got a lot easier. I mean, Tom Brady is retiring, and now, the guy who kind of outshined him on his day, Russell Wilson, just got traded to the Broncos. Did you guys really foresee this ever happening? Listen, I'm a 49er fan. When Pete Carroll said, hey, he's here for life, I mean, I didn't really believe it to that extent. Like, I thought maybe a couple years down the line they'd be that way, but I don't know if I was expecting it fully, like, right now. And when you look at the difference between the Commanders deal and the Broncos deal, it was really shortened by maybe a pick or two and a couple players. So I think Seattle actually made out with that one because they took that deal and they said, hey, who wants to offer a little bit more? And the Broncos were like, hey, we'll give you our defensive tackle and our tight end. Oh, yeah, and we'll give you Drew Lock too. That just sweetens it up a little bit more. But, Steven, tell me how you felt about this deal. Like, tell me, one, how you felt about it, and tell me, two, how you think Russell Wilson and the Broncos look fantasy-wise after this.
Personally, I'm an Eagles fan, and if you ask anyone around me, I've been praising, just trying to get Russell Wilson to come to Philly since the beginning of last season. I was big on the Russell Wilson to Philly bandwagon because Howie Roseman was going to pick him in the 2012 draft, but he got picked a couple picks before us. We got Nick Foles, which I can't be mad about that. So I was a little bummed once I saw that he got traded not to the Eagles, but for fantasy purpose, I think every Bronco is a winner in this situation. Alberto, I'm a huge Alberto fan because I used to go to the University of Missouri, so he dominated there. I'm a big Alberto fan. I thought Jerry Jeudy a couple years ago was the best receiver in that draft class, so I'm excited to see what he does this season. And then Courtland Sutton, everyone was sleeping on him. Everyone was down on him. Now, like, he's getting revived. Like, he could be a very solid wide receiver too. I feel like he has the potential to be a top 12 receiver this season.
Yeah, I traded for him. I wasn't a Judy guy. I was all in on Sutton all season because people thought that he, lost a step because of his ACL and stuff. I think Sutton is the real prize to get here. And I still feel like he's probably still discounted. Not as much as he was 2 weeks ago, but man, Judy's always his price point's been pretty sticky for a while though.
Yeah, and there's another name that we kind of forgot. Tim Patrick. Whether we like it or not, Tim Patrick was very productive last year, and he's going to be going in late rounds. Regardless of this deal, maybe it bumps him up a round or two. You're still going to see Tim Patrick there in past the 10th round. So there's somebody you can kind of look at to maybe upgrade your roster because we know that Judy and Sutton both have injury histories there. They've both taken away time, and Tim Patrick has succeeded when they are gone. But yeah, guys, I mean, this offense looks pristine, ready for like fantasy owners to take over and just be like, all right, anybody with Courtland Sutton who drafted him in startups this offseason prior to this trade is so fucking happy right now. I mean, think about it. I was looking at Courtland Sutton sometimes in like the 9th round. I was just like, it's a very interesting pick right there because here is a number one receiver. Here's a guy who could be playing the DK Metcalf role, maybe getting 12 touchdowns this next season. And he's just sitting there right around where wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 pitcher is. So that's definitely going to be a steal for that. How do you guys see the value? Steven, you already talked about it, but Justin, how do you feel the value of Albert O is now that, Noah Fant's out of the picture for sure?
I don't know, man. I think Russell Wilson's only had one top 12 tight end, and that was Jimmy Graham back in the day. So I'd probably sell him if I had him, but I won't blame anyone for holding on to him either. It's just I feel like whoever's in the slot, like Jerry Jeudy, is probably going to be just a stud. I mean, Russell Wilson has done, he's made Lockett and Metcalf, very fantasy viable. Haven't really seen much from the tight end position at all.
Yeah, I mean, you have a point. Jimmy Graham was the last guy to do it. Albert O, though, does bring physical tools of kind of like a Jimmy Graham. So that's where, I think maybe him in the red zone could be a huge threat. Obviously, he's not the blocking tight end, so they'll probably bring somebody in through the draft to be a blocking tight end. But I think that, in my opinion, he has like the profile of somebody like a Dalton Schultz, somebody who was kind of under the wire last year and broke out. I think that you could definitely pull that kind of leverage going into this draft. I think he could be that kind of a player. But on the flip side, where do you guys see Seattle? Now they've got 2 first-round picks. They've got 2 second-round picks from this. I think they got a 5th-round pick too, if I'm not mistaken. And then they've got, a couple bit talent here and there. They got Shelby Harris. They got Noah Fant. They got Drew Lock. Do you see them being in the hunt for one of these major quarterbacks that we're going to be talking about free agent wise? Do you see them maybe trying to trade for somebody, or do you see them just strictly going to the draft? Let's start with Justin.
I don't know. I feel like they'll probably just go to the draft. I don't really know what else is out there, to be in all honesty.
Well, that's why we're doing this podcast on free agency, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's such a like, there's just not a lot of talent, I feel like, in this free agent class that really, makes me think that it'll be better than just going with the draft class under cost control, which is kind of what I think they want to do.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird year because when you think about it, there's a lot of teams with QB needs, and there's not a lot of guys that you look at that draft class and free agent class period that kind of scream starting QB. But Steven, how are you looking at that situation? Are you looking at it like, all right, we got to go to the draft, or maybe we need to bridge quarterback and the draft, kind of like a mixture there?
Like you said, like they're all these QB needy teams this offseason, and there hasn't been a very dominant draft prospect this year like the past couple years. Maybe Malik Willis gets there. If he's there at number 9 overall, I mean, Seahawks could take him, but personally, I wouldn't take him at 9 unless I absolutely fell in love with him, and I'm just not there yet. But then again, there's not really anything in free agency. The bridge quarterbacks, that's all. I don't feel like I don't think there's any franchise guys out in free agency available. I don't really think anyone thinks that. So I would bring in a bridge guy, and you're not going to compete this year. So I would bring in a bridge guy, and then maybe next year's quarterback class is going to be loaded. So I feel like that would be the better option. And then at 9, load up on defense or get some weapons around. Maybe, who knows, maybe Drew Lock shows something and you can bring him on again next year or go to a quarterback next year. I feel like waiting till next year would be a better option for the Seahawks.
Watch the Seahawks take Breece Hall at number 9.
That would be a very Seahawk move. Still sign Rashad Penny back on the team.
And they love competition, right? Just not common sense.
And not release Chris Carson. That would be the kicker right there. And not release Chris Carson.
Yeah.
Well, guys, talking about number 9, a team that was looking at Malik Willis for a while is not number 11, but they might have just got their quarterback. But, I mean, at the same time, we're talking about bridge quarterbacks, and it seems like Carson Wentz just keeps on going and, burning his bridges everywhere he goes. Supposedly, in Philly, he was not really the locker room leader they wanted, and now it's coming out in Indy that he was a locker room guy. And, I mean, listen, I don't know where all this is coming from. This is all rumor and innuendo. But when it all comes down to it, Darius Leonard sent out saying, this is 5 quarterbacks in 5 years. This is not cool. We need to kind of get this going because this is a team on defense that's ready to compete. Their running back is the legit number 1 running back in the NFL right now. Michael Pittman's a good gem. They have some nice pieces on that team. They have a good offensive line. They have everything, and now they need a quarterback. So it almost seems like you took 2 steps forward just to take 3 steps back between seasons. So now they're looking into maybe getting Jimmy Garoppolo or any of these other bridge quarterbacks. You got to think that maybe they're too far out for a Malik Willis at this point. What do you guys see from this trade? Like, how did you take this trade? I'll start with Steven first because I know Justin wants to go off on this one. So, Steven, go for it. Tell me what you thought about this trade. Tell me what you think that Indy's mindset is going into this, and how do you feel the Commanders made out with this, knowing they've got a quarterback now that's a little bit better than Tyler Heineke?
Personally, I don't know what the Colts were really thinking in this. With such a weak free agency class of quarterbacks and, like we said, not many fantastic options in the draft, it seemed like there was very slim margins to get an upgrade at quarterback in this offseason for the Colts, especially with Rodgers and the Russell Wilson dominoes falling. Like, they're off the table. Now I'm thinking, like, with the Colts roster, they want to compete now, and they can compete now. And I personally felt like Wentz another year under Reich and with that offense would be the best option for them going forward. But with the trade, I think the best option for them now is, I don't know, like a Jimmy Garoppolo, because the winning narrative, like maybe he can come in and get the locker room together and win. But I'm just not really understanding the thought process behind this unless stories come out of how he was a very bad locker room presence, which wouldn't be that surprising because that has been a narrative for a couple seasons now. But for the Commanders, I feel like this is a fantastic move for them. Finally getting some competent quarterback back there. I liked Heineke as like a bridge guy or a backup, but I feel like Wentz is a somewhat underrated quarterback, gets a little hated, but I feel like this is a solid move for only 2 third-rounders.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, when it all comes down to it, they just switched a second-round pick in this year's draft, and they've got a third-rounder and a third-rounder that could be a second-rounder if Carson plays 70%. So you didn't really get too much of a yield, especially considering what you paid for the guy. It definitely, I don't know, it doesn't seem like a smart move. But I know Justin has a lot to say about this because he let it loose on his Twitter account what he thought about this. Justin, the floor is all yours, my man. Take it away.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell they're doing. Kind of like what you said, Steven. Like, you had Wentz, probably made an emotional response here because you're pissed off about the way the season ended. The only way that this makes any sense is if they take these picks and they deal like, I don't even know what it doesn't make sense at all. I could see them taking the 2 and shipping it off to get Matt Ryan. That's about the only thing that makes sense to me. They do have $70 million in cap space now. Maybe they go and get Jameis Winston, but I just don't feel like Jameis Winston meshes well at all with what Frank Reich wants to do. I just honestly have no idea what they're doing. It's kind of like, they're just flying by. No, like they just don't care about what's going on. They're like, yeah, we got rid of Carson Wentz. We'll figure it out. It's like, we just need a quarterback. That's all we need. It's like, great. It's like every team's problem is they just need a quarterback. You had a quarterback that had like 27 touchdowns and like 9 interceptions, which isn't – it's pretty good. Like, yeah, the last 2 weeks were bad, but he also had COVID those 2 weeks. So, I don't know. I think it's absolutely asinine, and I don't even know how you sell that to your fan base.
So I'm going to ask you guys a question. Say Carson Wentz doesn't suffer that bad loss to the Jaguars, gets the team into the playoffs. Let's say they lose in the first round, right? Are they in this situation? Are they trading Carson Wentz, or is everything golden there?
Reports today made it sound like he was not well respected with a lot of people in there. Said he couldn't take the hard coaching. A lot of the same stuff we heard in Philly. I mean, I just read an article earlier that said that Frank Reich went and apologized to Irsay about the whole thing. So I feel like his time was kind of up here regardless. But they did a good job of hiding it until the last week of the season in my eyes because he had a pretty good season, especially in fantasy. Like, he was a great quarterback, too, that I traded for. I think he'll do fine in Washington. I feel like Washington made out like a bandit on this one.
I see it all comes down to what really happened in the locker room. If it's as bad as everyone says it is, then yeah, like this had to happen because you can't have a team trying to win with like a cancer at quarterback, like the most important position on your team. You need like a very solid leader to lead your team at quarterback. And if it was as bad as everyone says it, then I can see why it happened. But other than that, like from a football standpoint, it like if they win and make it to the playoffs, it just does not make sense to get rid of a guy that turned your whole season around. Well, he didn't do it single-handedly. He had the help of Jonathan Taylor, the defense, everyone around him. But like to lead the team back to the playoffs after starting, what did they start? Like 0-4, 0 something like that. Not a great start.
They did not have a great start. They definitely needed a good back end of their season after losing twice to Tennessee for sure to make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely right. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys. I think that, obviously this whole thing with the locker room, it comes out. I mean, but you got guys like Darius Leonard who are like the perennial locker room leaders, like reaching out and saying, thank you, Carson. Like you would feel like if he really didn't mean it, he wouldn't say it. He seems like the type of guy that actually like is a genuine thing that he's saying that about the guy. So, I mean, I don't know what's up with that, but at the same time,
he probably knows that Carson Wentz is like 10 times better than Taylor Heineke on any day of the week.
Oh yeah,
It can get way worse than Carson Wentz.
100%, and they're going to figure it out that they are going to get it. I mean, Justin, I think that you put up a really good example of a guy they can go get because they have the cap room, and that's Matt Ryan. You can go out, you can get somebody like Matt Ryan. You can put him behind your line. He'll have Michael Pittman. He'll have a good run game. He'll have everything he needs to kind of put together the last maybe like 2-3 seasons of his career. This guy was an MVP, but instead, all signs are pointing to them going for Jimmy Garoppolo, which Jimmy Garoppolo is my quarterback. I never want him to be my quarterback again. He has a great winning record, no doubt about it. But when it comes to fantasy football or regular football, I mean, I think that he was more a product of what was around him than anything else. I mean, yeah. I mean, there's a lot to like about a gorgeous man with a good smile.
I feel like he gets a bad rap. I mean, he's not great, but I mean, he's a great QB2, and I think he's, definitely the winning helps when you have, great team around you. But look at how awful they were without Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, well, that's because they were dealing with Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard and all those fucking guys that couldn't get the ball downfield.
That's what I'm saying. They just re-signed. Didn't they just re-sign Nick Mullins?
Did they re-sign Nick Mullins?
I'm pretty sure they just re-signed him like 20 minutes ago to like a 2-year deal.
Oof. No freaking way. No freaking. It
was either Mullins or Beathard. It was one of the two that just got re-signed.
I think Beathard is still with Jacksonville, but Mullins I think is with your Philadelphia Eagles over there, Steven.
Yeah, I think he was. I think he played in the preseason. There was nothing there. There was nothing there for sure.
His claim to fame was being Brett Favre's protege. He just came out of the same college as Brett Favre. So everybody's like, "Oh, this gunslinger right here!" Like, no, he ain't no gunslinger. Oh, guys, let's get a couple of other newsworthy notes. We had Mike Williams sign a 3-year, $60 million deal. Stay with the Chargers. I think that's great for his fantasy value. I think it's perfect for him because he gets to stay in that 1B range where he's still a top talent, but he doesn't have to be the top talent. How do you guys feel about that deal? Do you like that he's still in I'm never going to break that. LA. Do you like that he's still in LA? Do you see his fantasy value going up with this deal or staying around the same?
I think he's a top 12 wide receiver. He had a breakout season last year under a new scheme. And, Keenan Allen's not getting any younger. I think he's the guy in San Diego / LA, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I think it was a move the Chargers had to make. You got to keep weapons around young quarterbacks, and I think Herbert would be completely fine without him, maybe a little less, but it's just anything to help your quarterback, and I feel like it was great for fantasy. He'll continue to have the season that he just had, maybe a little bit better, more consistent, maybe. But I feel all around it was a fantastic move for all parties involved.
Yeah. And I mean, the way that they used him last year where they kind of opened up his route trees almost seemed like they were trying to find a substitute for, the ways down the line when Keenan Allen's kind of out. Keenan Allen, I think, has got a 3-4 year head start on him. So at some point, even the good possession receivers grow a little bit old. But another newsworthy note. Let's go with that. Khalil Mack is in the Chargers' house right now. How do you guys feel about that? The 6th round pick and a 2nd round pick is what I heard, or is it 2nd and 5th? The 2nd is the most prominent one. How do you guys feel about that? I mean, this was obviously a team that needed more run defense, run stoppers than anything else, but they went out and got a pass rusher. Steven, tell me your thoughts on that. Obviously now with Russ in the house in the AFC West, they got to get somebody to get to him. But did you like the move? Did you not like the move? I know he's kind of an aging pass rusher at this point, but he always seemed like he had a good grip on what was going on in Chicago. He always seemed to be around every play in Chicago when he was out on the field. So yeah, how'd you feel about this move? Do you think that it's going to make an impact in that AFC West?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like it was a fantastic move for the Chargers. Giving up a second, that's a pretty penny to give up. But I mean, you saw it just worked out for the Rams, giving up a second for Von Miller. And as of now, I think Khalil Mack still has more in the tank than Von Miller. Not to say that Von Miller doesn't, but and with all the quarterbacks in the AFC West, I feel like you got to have some edge rushers to get after them and make them not have all day in the pocket. So I feel like it was a great move. And that's what they needed was defense. Their offense can score with anyone, but getting an edge rusher is a big piece for them. I feel like it'll help them out a lot this season.
100%. Justin, you got anything on this one?
Yeah, it is just another one of those trades that I don't understand. This is what bad teams do. This is why they stay bad. Give up 2 first-round picks for a player just to trade him around in 3 years for a second and a sixth. That's just a typical Bears move. This is why they're a laughingstock of their division, unfortunately. I will say that the biggest impact I think it might have, I've not been a big Justin Fields fan, but, you give away your best player on defense, he might be a quarterback one this season strictly because they're going to have to score points. I just don't think that defense – I know they have Matt Eberflus, but I don't even know who's left on that defense that took them to the playoffs 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
Yeah, I would think there's not too many players there. Maybe Akeem Hicks, if he was the guy a couple years back. But that's a very valid point. If you don't really have a good defense, other teams are scoring a lot on you. You still got to deal with Aaron Rodgers twice a year. I mean, Justin Fields could definitely be somebody, that could slide into that QB1 conversation just based off of the time that he has to be on the field, garbage time or whatever time. He's going to get opportunities next year to carve his way into that QB1 pitcher. But anyways, guys, this is a free agency episode. And after we get back from an ad from Manscaped, we will be talking about all the prime time free agents that we have. So stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back.
Exciting news just came across from our friends at Manscaped. They just launched their 4th generation performance package. This ultimate package includes the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0. Manscaped, the leaders in male grooming, have done it again to make your grooming game next level. Join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with the new Performance Package 4.0 by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with the promo code BILLIAFANTASY. The Performance Package 4.0 by Manscaped has arrived, and oh man, it was worth the wait. Inside this package, you'll find our Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold all your goodies. Get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code BELLYOFFANTASY at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the promo code BELLYOFFANTASY at manscaped.com. Your balls have been through enough this past year, so treat them with the best tools for the job from Manscaped.
You're listening to the MD's Fantasy.
So we are back. And guys, we're talking about free agents in this episode. So it is fitting that we talk about the guys that are no longer free agents. We talked about Mike Williams getting his contract, but there were quite a few people getting tagged. We had Devontae Adams, of course, getting tagged. I don't think anybody saw him leaving. We talked about that earlier. We had Chris Godwin surprisingly getting tagged. We also had Dalton Schultz, Mike Gesicki, and guys, this is the craziest one to me. Why do the Browns consistently want to have 3 tight ends? David Njoku gets tagged. Come on, give this guy a break. Let him go be a tight end 1 somewhere else. They've got Austin Hooper guaranteed until about 2023. They've got the young John Mackey Award winner, Harrison Bryant, and now they bring back Njoku. That's the guy that popped off for me. Everyone else, I kind of wasn't surprised because of this weak tight end class, but it was kind of surprising that they wanted to bring back Njoku. Was there any surprises for you guys?
Yeah, I feel like Njoku, when I first saw that, I was like, am I reading this right? I was very, very confused why they tagged Njoku. Like, I don't even think he was. If he was their starter, like they don't really. They use all 3 tight ends evenly, so it wasn't really. It didn't really make sense to me. I thought like for sure he was going to leave, and the only thing I could think of is like maybe they see something in him, and maybe they have a plan for his usage to go up next year or something. But even then, I doubt that. Like it didn't really make sense to me. But all the other moves, I felt like were fine tags and expected franchise tags.
Yeah, Njoku made like no sense to me, but that's Cleveland. They need to have at least 3 tight ends, otherwise their offense doesn't function. Next year, I'm sure they'll tag like Kareem Hunt or something that they don't need. So I don't know. That's just typical Brown stuff right now. But it is interesting that they didn't tag their D end that they probably could have used. He's going to walk in free agency, I believe. So it was interesting to me that they went Njoku instead of Clowney.
Yeah. Well, you said it best. That's just the way the Browns do business. Nobody freaking knows how it works, why it does, and it doesn't work in the end. So we are just reminded that the Browns will never kind of make sense. But anyways, guys, let's start getting into it with the quarterbacks. We've been talking about it. This quarterback class can be pretty much described as the bridge class as far as free agency goes. We've got Mitchell Trubisky. We've got Jameis Winston. I put Jimmy Garoppolo in there. He's not a free agent, but he's bound to be traded soon. And my last guy to talk about is Marcus Mariota. So I kind of want to just run this down. I'm going to give you guys a few little stats that I collected about these guys. And I want you to kind of just tell me where you see them going and why you think that maybe they could be relevant fantasy-wise, if they have any relevance dynasty-wise going forward. So we're going to start with Mitchell Trubisky, a guy who's kind of been getting a lot of newsworthy notes about him is that the Giants are kind of interested in him right now. His best season was back in 2018. He threw for 24 touchdowns, ran for another 3. He ran for 421 yards, 3,223 passing yards, and he finished QB 15. Obviously, none of that really stands out for anybody. Where do you guys see this guy as a good fit? I mean, obviously, his name has been tossed around at the scouting combine. It's getting some, there's getting some fire to the smoke behind what's going on in New York, especially with Brian Dable being the coach there. He was obviously his coach for that last season in Buffalo. Where do you guys kind of see him fitting in? And we're just assuming he's going to be a bridge quarterback, but do you think that he has any long-term fantasy value? Let's go with Steven first.
I personally think he's going to go – my prediction is the Panthers. It seems like the Panthers are kind of basically done with the Sam Darnold experiment. It would kind of be almost the same move they made last year, except not a trade. It would be a signing. They brought Sam Darnold in to see if they could ignite any of that potential that he had from the draft. Maybe they do the same thing with Trubisky here. If not, then he could just be a more bridge quarterback and then go for the draft next year. But, I mean, if he produces an average, I feel like he could either A, get another starting job somewhere else or get a multi-year deal for cheap or something in Carolina. So I feel like Carolina would be a reasonable signing spot for Trubisky.
I like that. That's an interesting one. I mean, obviously they got weapons out there. But my thing is this going to be the end of Matt Rule? Obviously it's going to be the end of Matt Rule if it doesn't work out. But will Matt Rule end up taking a draft pick on top of that? Or is he going to stick with the method that he's been trying for his entire career, which is just get a bridge quarterback, try and put a Band-Aid over a giant gash and see what happens?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sounds like he wants to go to Indianapolis. Just loves bridge quarterbacks. I mean, I could see Trubisky. I mean, I almost wonder if Trubisky's going to go to Indianapolis now that I think about it. He's kind of mobile. I think he does have relevance. I actually think he's a great option to stream this season wherever he goes because he's going to run the ball. He's not as bad as he used to be. Really, they need to move him out of the pocket. I mean, every single thing in Chicago was just garbage because they had a garbage play caller and a garbage coach. So it's really tough to know what exactly he's going to be. But I think that even when he did play, he had some games where he would get you like 30 points, similar to like Blake Bortles back in the day.
Yeah. He had a pretty amazing game where he had 6 touchdowns. So I mean, there is some sport kid. I do agree with you. Steven, do you see him having any relevance past possibly this season? Like, would you take him in Dynasty draft and with any confidence that he could give you value in 2 years?
I think I lagged a little bit. Can you repeat that a little bit?
You're good. You're good. Are you frozen yet?
I still lost you.
Yeah.
Oh. Hold on 1 second.
It's all choppy.
Okay. 1 second. All right. You good?
Yeah.
It sounds a little better. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, what was you see?
Yeah. It's back to choppy again.
Yeah, it's
Back to choppy?
Yeah.
Okay. To take over for a quick second, I'll try and work on something.
yeah. So what do you think about Trubisky? Sorry.
Yeah. Like, if he were to go to Carolina or something, like I said, I feel like, if he were to go to Carolina, I feel like it would be a slight boost to the receivers there. I mean, it's kind of, I feel like there's not much of a change from Darnold to Trubisky unless the play calling changes a little bit. I like what you said, get Trubisky outside the pocket. That one successful year he had in Chicago, if you want to call it that successful. Nagy had him out of the pocket, and that's where he really succeeded. I also feel like CMC would get a slight boost in this because if you look back at prime Tariq Cohen, pass catching back, I feel like Trubisky targeted him. He had 71 catches in 2018 and then 79 catches in 2019. So I feel like McCaffrey would get a slight boost. But in Dynasty, Trubisky, I mean, he could be like basically what he is in the NFL, like a bridge quarterback in a super flex league or something just like that. Yeah.
Okay. Am I back?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So I like that. I mean, to be honest with you, Trubisky definitely has like a feel of, kind of an indie for me. I like him going to either indie or kind of being like almost I think that, Tomlin might see something in him and bringing him in over a Malik Willis, like maybe bringing them both in at the same time, since they kind of work. They're both mobile quarterbacks. Well, Malik is obviously a mobile quarterback, but obviously Trubisky, they can set up a system where it can work with Trubisky and then have Malik sit down. That's kind of where I'm having it. But I think you do bring up good points with the Panthers. Let's talk about another. What's up?
Cam Newton's going to Pittsburgh.
Oh, that would be phenomenal. Another year of Newton.
It wouldn't be much different from Big Ben other than he might run more.
No, you got me there. They both kind of got that fucking wet noodle arm right now. Let's move on to Jameis Winston. This is probably the most interesting guy on the block as far as, free agency, because he's the only guy who's really been fantasy relevant. Here's somebody who at one point was QB3. At one point he had 36 touchdowns. He also had 33 interceptions. Obviously he's never had a season where he's thrown single digits in interceptions, but he's had 4 seasons with 3,000 yards. So, he's the epitome of boom bust. he had a decent year last year. He seemed like he was cutting back on the interceptions under Sean Payton. Where do you guys stand with Jameis Winston? Do you think he's somebody who could stick around in the NFC South and make his third tour on one of the teams, maybe go to Carolina? Do you think he has the Steelers written all over him? I don't know if he's an indie guy because I don't think that he, like you said, Justin, I don't think he fits Frank Wright's build. But yeah, I'll go to Justin first this time. Where do you see Jameis going?
I think he'll go back to New Orleans. I think he knows the playbook there pretty well. It's either New Orleans or Indy for me. I mean, Indy's just the most attractive job, so everyone wants to go to Indy, I feel like. Yeah. But I feel like the Saints are a good fit, especially you got Michael Thomas coming back. I'm kind of in on Marquez Callaway now that he's significantly cheaper than he was last offseason. And then I'm also in on the whole offense. I like Kamara rebounding this year too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I have him going back to the Saints, but I feel like it doesn't really change anything for him in fantasy. He'll still be a boom bust quarterback, I feel. I mean, he could get a slight boost if Michael Thomas comes back and he looks the part, or at least majority of the part of what he was doing back in his prime. And hopefully Kamara is able to play for him. I feel like that would be an upgrade for Kamara, having Winston at quarterback over Taysom Hill. Taysom won't be a goal line vulture for Kamara anymore. May get a little less receptions from checkdowns from Winston, but overall, I'd rather the touchdowns, a couple extra touchdowns than a couple extra receptions. But yeah, I feel like Winston, his best option, will probably just go back to the Saints, learn the playbook again, and just have another year in New Orleans.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that one thing about Jameis in New Orleans, I like that a lot. I think that he actually was getting to a point where he was starting to realize that shorter passes could do well. I know in the beginning, Michael Thomas he came out and he said he had a problem with his slot route or his slant routes. He wasn't throwing a good ball on slant routes. But you know what? I mean, you look at him, and he was really making strides as far as recognizing who was the better man to throw to instead of just throwing it deep the entire time. But like you said, Justin, Marquez Callaway is a beast downfield. They're also going to have Deontay Harris back, who kind of made his point while being just like the burner downfield. I think that, bringing back Harris, bringing back Callaway, Michael Thomas coming in, getting that 150 targets. This is a team that with, the South being down could easily compete. And, if they want to do that, it's going to be with Jameis Winston, like you guys said, instead of Taysom Hill for sure. We've kind of already talked about Jimmy G a little bit. So let's go with Marcus Mariota. How are you guys feeling about Marcus Mariota? Do you think he's going to be a legit backup for the rest of his career? Do you think he's got one more bridge quarterback starter season left in him?
I don't understand the love Mariota gets. I've never been impressed with what he's done. I'm out on Mariota. He's just a career backup to me.
Yeah, I don't really think he's going to – even if he gets a starting job somewhere. Like, I think he could go to the Steelers. I feel like a dark horse who may go to the Colts or something if they want to go all in on the run game, maybe like have a little read option type offense. But I don't really think Frank Reich is going to do that. RPOs maybe for Mariota would help him. But I feel like the Steelers, they had interest. I think I saw that. I feel like I feel like he's a bridge quarterback at best and just a solid backup. I don't really think there's much other to his game than his legs and like short passes. Other than that, he's an average quarterback, like a below average high end backup, but that's about it. Yeah,
no, that's where I'm kind of at with it too. I don't think he's gonna really blow anybody away at this point in his career. So we're just gonna go on to the running backs because I don't really have much else to say about Marcus Mariota. Let's start with James Conner. Do you guys think he comes back to Arizona after that 15 touchdown season he had with them? Do you think he's the guy to come back? Obviously, Chase Edmonds and him are free agents. I don't see them bringing back Chase Edmonds, but for some reason, I really think that there was a good connection between Connor and Cliff Kingsbury. I think that he really enjoyed having a power back in that offense. How are you guys feeling about that? And who do you think he would go to if he doesn't go to Arizona?
Yeah, I have him going back to Arizona. I mean, you said he had 15 touchdowns, which is fantastic. Even when Chase Edmonds was out, I mean, he took over the lead back role and dominated the carries, dominated third downs. He was very solid and got the job done. And they have some holes to fill on their whole team. And I feel like taking a running back is a risk. I mean, it could pay off and you can get a superstar and like running back cheap draft pick. But then again, like you could also fill in another position with that pick. And James Conner showed that he can get the job done extremely well. So I feel like it just makes sense to bring him back with another piece, another third down back. Maybe they bring back Edmonds. It wouldn't be that bad of an idea. I thought they were a very, very good 1-2 punch in the NFL this past season.
Yeah, I feel like Buffalo's a good landing spot for him if it's not Arizona. I feel like he'd be a great pass catching back. They could use Singletary, who's not so much a great pass catcher. He could be what they hoped Zach Moss was, but yeah, I feel like Arizona makes the most sense.
Yeah, and I feel like he could probably go back there on a team-friendly contract. It seemed like they both liked the relationship that was going on there. Here's a guy that could be somebody who earns a little bit more money now that he's got his championship ring, Leonard Fournette. Who do you see him going to? A lot of signs are pointing towards Miami, getting that workload there. I don't hate it. You know, obviously he was in Jacksonville before. Miami is just an upgraded version of Jacksonville. But, you know, as far as if he's ever going to be the man ever again on a team, it's probably going to be either Miami or Tampa. And I think Miami at this point is a little bit more competitive than Tampa is, especially if they don't have Tom Brady. Where do you guys see him going, Leonard Fournette, especially after this RB8 year that he had?
Yeah, I think, like you said, the two teams I only really see him going to. I have him prediction going to Miami. They need a running back. He just showed that he could be a solid check down on third down, so he can dominate all the carries. I feel like it would really help Tua. It would be the first running back Tua actually could really rely on to take a load off of him on the defense. But I could also see him going back to Tampa Bay for the exact same reasons. The only rostered running back they have is Keyshawn Vaughn, and he hasn't really shown much. So, and if they think they can compete and get a quarterback to maybe a bridge quarterback to help them, and they think they can compete, I feel like they bring Fournette back. But I feel like it's one of those two. They're teams that really make sense for this.
I feel like this is an Atlanta type of signing. I feel like they want to run the ball, and I feel like he fits the mold of the type of player that I can't remember who the head coach likes. You know, he's not Derrick Henry, but he's a former top 5 pick. He's a tank. I just feel like Fournette fits that system pretty well. I don't think he'll go back to Tampa. I read today that they don't intend to bring either one of those guys back. Also, I wouldn't be surprised if they brought in Fournette and paired him with Michael Carter in New York.
Yeah, that would be a good mix. Kind of their own little smash and flash type of mix. So actually, speaking of Atlanta, this is the guy I have going to Atlanta, Melvin Gordon. I think he actually picked up a great season this past year. Half the touches, literally right down the middle. He finished one spot ahead of Javonte Williams at RB19. This is a guy who's proven that he's still got something in the tank. His first season, I remember I rostered him his first season, and he had 6 fumbles and 0 touchdowns. I thought, this guy's a piece of shit. He sucks. And then he blew me away the next year. He was a keeper league, and you know, he wasn't on my team, and I was like, oh man, I missed out on the guy because I thought he sucked. But yeah, Melvin Gordon, to me, he screams either Denver, Buffalo, or Atlanta for me. I think that he fits in as a good role player there in either one of those teams or either of those 3 teams. Where do you guys have him going?
I have him, like you said, going to Atlanta. Like the other Justin said, I feel like I think it's Arthur Smith, their coach. He likes that like the bigger backs, and I feel like Melvin Gordon does fit that role, and he's better than Mike Davis. We can all agree on that. And even if Cordero Patterson does resign, I feel like they still want to get like a prototypical big running back like Melvin Gordon. And I mean, ever since his rookie year, he's proven that he's been a very solid, very reliable running back. But if he doesn't go to Atlanta, I really think it does make sense now after the Russell Wilson trade to bring him back to Denver. As much as it would hurt a lot of Javonte owners and Javonte truthers, having a 1-2 back punch with Melvin Gordon and Javonte just proved how lethal it could be last season. And now I feel like it could be even more lethal with them having to respect the pass now with Russell Wilson at the helm.
Yeah. How about you, Justin? Where do you see Gordon going?
Yeah, I feel like he's going to go back to Denver. I feel like the writing's kind of on the wall there. Melvin Gordon played with Russell Wilson back in college. I just feel like that's kind of a good scheme. I just feel like they're going to try and limit the carries of Javonte too. They both were split down the middle. They were both super efficient, and there's nothing but, in terms of real football, you'd love to have two guys with fresh legs the way they can run that ball.
It's fair enough. I mean, why not? A lot of people are like, "Oh, get Javonte out there for my dynasty." I'm like, "Nah, man, keep him on there for like another year. I'll take him in the second round and freaking ride that train out. If I get 8 years out of Javonte Williams, I'll be happy as hell with that one."
Yeah.
So we're gonna move to pass catchers just for the sake of time, guys. I want to talk about a couple of guys. Obviously, Amari Cooper. The rumors are he's gonna get released. We're just gonna assume he's released by free agency time. Who do you see him going to, and where do you think his dynasty outlook and overall just fantasy outlook is, and wherever your new home for him is? Steven, go ahead first.
Yeah, I have him. I think the Jets make a lot of sense for Amari. They could get another wide receiver alongside Elijah Moore. I don't know if Crowder is under contract, but Crowder in the slot, that would be good. And what the really big thing in the NFL now is getting weapons, as much weapons as you can for your young quarterbacks. And I feel like it would really help Zach Wilson have a established, solid wide receiver in Amari Cooper alongside Elijah Moore. I feel like it would make sense. And for fantasy purposes, I feel like it would help almost everyone on the offense. Take a load off of Elijah Moore, give another target for Zach Wilson. And I feel like Cooper, he'll have a lot of targets in this offense, a lot less mouths to feed than there were in Dallas with CeeDee Lamb, Schultz, Zeke, Pollard, Gallup even. So I feel like Cooper could maintain his value that he had in Dallas, even with a lesser quarterback. Or he could even get more if Zach Wilson progresses and takes a leap in year 2.
Yeah, that's an interesting area because you still got Corey Davis out there who's a legit wide receiver in himself. But what I like about that is from schematically sense, you can put Elijah Moore in the slot a lot more, which I think he would absolutely destroy the slot. Mm-hmm. I think he would kill nickel cornerbacks all day long. So I think that's a phenomenal landing spot. Justin, where do you have him going?
Yeah. Hold on 1 sec. Sorry. Which receiver was it again? I'm sorry.
Amari Cooper.
Oh yeah, Amari Cooper. I feel like he's got Philadelphia written all over him. I know they were trying to acquire Calvin Ridley. They want someone opposite of the guy they drafted, Devontae Smith, and then they also got Goddard. I'm not sure how committed they are to Hurts though, so I just feel like Amari's got. I just feel like Philadelphia is probably where he wants to go to get revenge on Dallas too.
Yeah,
I'd be happy with that.
Yeah.
Everybody likes a good revenge story. Let's do one more, guys. Let's do a fun one. Let's do A-Rob. You think Allen Robinson still has another fantasy relevant season in him? And if you do, where is he doing it? Where is he going? Justin, Justin, lead off.
That's a Buffalo signing. They signed Emmanuel Sanders last year. The year before that, they signed some other scrub. I can't remember. they love to sign these old guys and see if they still have one more year left in them. So I just feel like Buffalo's got Allen Robinson if they get him on a team-friendly deal.
I like that. Steven, what do you think?
I got him going to New England. If he still has something in the tank, I feel like Belichick will get it out of him, and it will give Mac Jones a big-bodied veteran receiver. I don't know if he will get like low-end wide receiver 1 numbers that he was getting, but I feel like he could be a solid wide receiver 2 for this next upcoming season and maybe a year after that. But yeah, I think New England, he would help their receiving core out a little bit.
And I think that's all we can hope for right now as far as Robinson's value. If we can get wide receiver 2 numbers from him, I think a lot of people would be happy.
Yeah, that would be great.
I'm going to stick with Justin's theory here about getting old guys, but I'm going to go with Arizona. I think that they figure out a way to replace A.J. Green with another aging veteran at Allen Robinson, and, Cliff Kingsbury can never, ever resist going out and grabbing more weapons for his team. So I think that they replace A.J. Green, who's like 33, with Allen Robinson, who's 29, and try and get something out of him on a 2-year deal. But anyways, guys, this has been a phenomenal podcast. Steven, thank you for joining us, man.
Yeah, thanks.
I can bring you back.
Yeah, for sure. I had a great time. It was real good. It went really quick, actually.
Yeah.
The good ones always do. Anyways, tell the fans where they can find you. I know you're obviously with the boys over at FF Face Off. Tell us your Twitter. Tell us where we can find all of your works. This is your plug.
Yeah, sure. Twitter at sbrownholtz1. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Again, with the boys over at FF Face Off. Awesome. Go check them out while you're there. And I'm coming up with a new podcast with me and my roommate. Maybe I can have you guys on also. It's actually the name isn't the same, but like the kind of the logo and almost is. I'll have to change it up a little bit. It's going to be Beer and Ball, or Ball and Beer. I haven't come up with a name yet. Basically the same premise. Talking fantasy sports over a beer, keeping it casual. But be on the lookout for that. But yeah, again, thank you guys for having me on.
Yeah, man, 100%. And we'll be bringing you back on because this was some good conversation, man. Justin, I know you've been writing over at the Nerds recently. What you got coming for us, man?
I don't have a lot to think right now. I'll have my reactions to free agency and trades going on at Prediction Strike probably next week. And that's kind of what I'm working on now. It's just some of those players you can capitalize on their values. And by the way, one guy we didn't talk about that I'm still pounding the table for is Alexander Madison. If you can get him, now's still the time. I think that Dalvin Cook is not going to be a Viking next year. All
right. Well, at this point, that is a legitimate hot take you have had for about 4 podcasts. So we're going to stick it up on our Twitter. But anyways, guys, wonderful podcast, man. It was good talking with Steven. It was good just shooting some shit, and we got a lot more free agents than I thought we were going to get out there. But anyways, guys, as usual, you can catch us on Twitter. You can catch us now on Spreaker at the Dynasty Brews Podcast. We are on Belly Up, the Belly Up channel on Tiki Live, 9 a.m. on Saturdays. As always, guys, have fun, have a good night, and stay frosty, Brew Crew.